Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the toughest choices in Shonen Unleashed, picking your main character. I mean seriously, with so many epic characters inspired by our favorite shonen heroes, it feels like you're choosing between legends. But don't stress, I'm here to help break down who's worth bringing into the fight, whether you're looking to deal massive damage, play the support role, or just flex on everyone else in the arena. In this video, we'll go over our latest Shonen Unleashed tier list and get into the strengths, weaknesses, and best use cases for each top tier character. I've got you covered with all the details you need to know to make the perfect choice for your playstyle. So if you're struggling with who to pick or just want to find the most overpowered moves to crush your opponents, you're in the right place. Let's jump right in and unleash some serious shonen power. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking characters in Shonen Unleashed. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
A very small portion of the audience is subscribed to the channel. Please don't forget to subscribe if you like these types of videos. Thanks.
The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Izuku Midoriya, Kaioken Gamble, Namek Saga Goku, Roronoa Zoro pre-time skip, and Marineford pre-time skip Luffy. Alright, listen up, Shonen Unleashed fans. Today we're talking about some of those C-tier characters you might be tempted to overlook, but are definitely worth a second glance. Starting us off is Izuku Midoriya, and sure, he might be down here in C-tier, but don't underestimate him. This guy brings some seriously solid combo potential with AoE and CC skills that can really rack up the hits. Plus, he's got a bunch of gap closers and a super powerful ultimate, which can turn fights in his favor. The catch: he's a bit lacking in ranged attacks, and some of his moves are easy to predict. With only one armored ability in his standard kit, he can sometimes feel like he's missing that extra layer of durability. But still, if you know how to play him, Midoriya can be a lot of fun. Next up, we have Kaioken Gamble Namek Saga Goku. Now, if you're patient enough to pull off those charge-ups, the damage output is pretty insane. This Goku's got a versatile kit mixing melee and ranged moves, and in the later stages, he really ramps up with some crazy speed. But here's the downside: his moves have long wind-ups, especially skill 3, which practically begs enemies to dodge it. And if you're looking for AoE, Spirit Bomb is pretty much your only hope. Overall, he's not for everyone, but if you're a Goku fan who loves a challenge, this one's a rewarding pick. Rolling into the roster with those swords flashing is Roronoa Zoro pre-time skip. Zoro's got a fully AoE focused kit with a mix of melee and ranged attacks that let you keep enemies on their toes. His cooldowns are shorter than most, so you can chain skills together for some intense combos. The downside? Zoro's like an open book. His skills are telegraphed and super easy for opponents to see coming, so you'll need to be strategic. And yep, no disengage means he's vulnerable when things get heated. But if you can outsmart your opponents, Zoro's all about those high energy, in-your-face plays. And let's not forget Marineford pre-time skip Luffy. Luffy's got a heavy AoE kit with some solid crowd control, so he's a beast when it comes to controlling the battlefield. His T skill is borderline busted, literally putting enemies to sleep, which is just chef's kiss. He's got decent disengage moves, so you can dip out if things get too wild. However, his only gap closer is also his main disengage skill, which means you will be in a bit of a dilemma when it comes to closing the distance against ranged opponents. With no real combo potential, Luffy's more about controlling space than dishing out flashy combos. Each of these characters has their quirks, and yes, they're not the easiest to master, but if you know how to bring out their strengths and work around their limitations, they can totally hold their own. So, whether you're looking to perfect those flashy Midoriya combos, pull off massive spirit bombs with Goku, slice up with Zoro, or just sleep on enemies with Luffy, there's something here for every C-tier connoisseur. Give them a shot and let us know which one you're gonna grind. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Naruto Uzumaki, pre-time skip Ichigo Kurosaki Soul Society, Eiichi Shiva Nezutsumaha Society, Saitama, Shoto Todoroki, Monkey D, Luffy pre-time skip, Inosuke Hashibira, Great Ape Saiyan Saga Vegeta, Zangetsu Shikai Ichigo, and Enies Lobby pre-time skip Zoro. Alright, let's talk about some solid B-tier picks in Shonen Unleashed. You know, these are the characters that bring some serious heat, but have quirks that keep them just shy of the A tier. They're all about good potential, with a few bumps that make you have to work a bit harder for that big payoff. Still, with the right approach, these picks can shine. First off, let's dive into Naruto Uzumaki pre-time skip. The guy's got gap closing down pat. He'll get right up in the opponent's face, bringing solid crowd control, CC options along the way. Awaken him, and suddenly, you're hitting them from all directions with some excellent medium and long range AoE options. But fair warning, Naruto can be vulnerable. Without super or hyper armor in normal form, he can be easily controlled, and if he needs to dip, well, good luck. Not much of a disengage there, so make sure you're ready to commit when you pick him. Then, we've got Ichigo Kurosaki in his Soul Society arc. Balanced is the name of the game here. His kit gives you a little of everything. Decent gap closing, good combos, and a mean projectile block when he's awakened. He hits hard when it matters, especially with his ultimate, but Ichigo's still mostly melee, and his skills hit a bit softer than you might like for mid-range encounters. To top it off, while he's awakened, he loses out on super and hyper armor, which means he's ripe for CC if the enemy can catch him off guard. Now, Saitama may be known as the One Punch Man, but in Shonen Unleashed, he's no invincible juggernaut. His kit's all about taking down melee opponents with a strong disengage and solid punish options. He even gets powered up M1s with full AoE when awakened, making him pretty scary up close. Plus that ultimate, a big satisfying stun break. But don't get too confident. If he's caught in normal form, ranged attacks will give him a headache since he has few ways to tank them without super or hyper armor. Shoto Todoroki is here, bringing some ice-cold zoning to the table. If you love setting up your attacks and keeping people at a distance, Todoroki's got you covered. His zoning and disengage skills make it a nightmare for anyone trying to rush him, and he's got a nice range of AoE and CC options to lock opponents down. The catch? When he's cold, his damage output dips quite a bit, and if you're into heavy combos, he might disappoint. But play him right, and he'll chip away at the enemy while staying safely out of reach. Of course, Monkey D. Luffy pre-time skip is another well-rounded option, with a bit of everything, solid AoE, some CC, and a nice chunk of combo potential. Luffy's even got good options for disengage, and his awakening shines in solo matches, giving him an extra edge. However, don't expect to close the distance easily in his normal form since he lacks gap closing moves. Plus, he's pretty exposed in pubs due to the lack of super or hyper armor in most of his kit. Next, Inosuke Hashibira is a great pick if you're looking for a blend of offense and versatility. His kit comes with gap closing skills, CC, and even some disengage options. Most of his attacks cause a bleed effect, giving you some extra damage over time. And his combo potential? Pretty decent. Sure, he's got no range to speak of and is more solo oriented, but he can still hold his own in public matches, thanks to those escape options. Great Ape Saiyan Saga Vegeta bring us some interesting perks to the table. He gains an extra 200 max HP in public matches, giving him some tankiness. His full AoE kit also offers a lot of CC, and he's got an option to disengage when things get tough. Not to mention, he's immune to most CC, and his M1s get a nice boost. But fair warning, when his skills are on cooldown, he's vulnerable, and his gap closing skill is, let's just say, not the most reliable, so he's a bit kiteable if you're up against someone with decent mobility. And finally, Zangetsu Shikai Ichigo. This Ichigo variant comes with solid AoE and a few gap closing skills. His combo potential is fantastic, and he's got powerful CC options to keep opponents on their toes. But he's all offense, no subtlety here. His moves are pretty telegraphed, so experienced players can see them coming, which means you'll need to be a step ahead to make the most out of his kit. So there you have it. B tier in Shonen Unleashed isn't about just good or bad, it's about that raw potential if you're willing to work with the quirks. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, 1000 Year Blood War, Renji Abarai, Jotaro Kujo, Son Goku Namek Saga, Curse Mark Level 2 pre-time skip Sasuke, Yuji Itadori, and Sasuke Uchiha pre-time skip. Alright folks, let's get into the nitty-gritty of some of the coolest A-tier characters in Shonen Unleashed. These are the ones that pack a punch and bring some serious flair to the battlefield but aren't quite S-tier. They're balanced, they're fun, and they've got their quirks, and if you've got a favorite, they might just be on this list. So let's dive in. First up, 1000 Year Blood War, Renji Abarai. Now, Renji is your classic melee fighter who's got something special in his kit. Every one of his skills comes with CC, block breaking, and that sweet, super hyper armor that lets him stay in the thick of battle. Renji's combo potential is top notch, and he can put out some impressive damage. The catch? He only has one gap closing skill, which can make it hard to stick to slippery opponents, and unfortunately, there's no way for him to disengage if he's in trouble. Renji's a wrecking ball for sure, but once he's in, he's gotta stay committed. Now, let's talk about Jotaro Kujo. This guy is as well-rounded as it gets, with CC, gap closing, and disengage options to keep him flexible in any fight. His ultimate time stop ability is just killer, turning the tide in an instant. Jotaro's only downside is his small AoE and lack of range options, which can limit him against enemies who like to keep their distance. But hey, if you like a solid kit that's got some powerful options, Jotaro's your guy. Then we've got Son Goku from the Namek saga. Goku's got a mostly ranged kit with some decent AoE, which lets him poke away at those melee fighters trying to get up close. His combo potential is solid, and if you want to frustrate melee players, Goku's range is gonna feel pretty sweet. The downside, if you're using the charge version of skill 2, you won't have any gap closing skills, so it can feel a bit awkward, and without hyper armor or a good disengage, he's definitely more of a tactical choice rather than a tanky brawler. Curse Mark Level 2, Sasuke Pre-Time Skip Edition is the definition of a balanced fated fighter. He's got a little bit of everything: range, gap closing, CC, and a powerful combo game. His poke game is solid, but the big drawback is that he's only got one super armor move, which can make him feel vulnerable if he's overwhelmed. And let's not forget, his Chidori Lament skill is pretty easy to punish if you're not careful. Still, with Sasuke, you're getting an all-around reliable kit that's as versatile as it is fun. Then we have Yuji Itadori, who brings some incredible mobility and CC to the table. He's also got enhanced M1 attacks that feel snappier than most. When awakened, Yuji's ranged AoE abilities go from decent to devastating, with a nearly unavoidable ultimate that can wipe opponents off the map, but in his normal state, he's a bit limited with AoE, and without a disengage, you've got to stay light on your feet. Plus, for Yuji to hit his max potential, he's got to nail those quick time events, which keeps the gameplay exciting and challenging. Finally, Sasuke Uchiha, also pre-time skip, enters the fray with a balanced kit that's got a bit of everything: melee, range, and a boosted evasive counter when awakened. He's loaded with gap closing skills, decent AoE, and solid poke potential. The downside, in his normal state, Sasuke has no super or hyper armor, so he can be countered if he doesn't play smart. His Chidori, while powerful, is also punishable if you're not careful. Overall, he's a great pick for players who want a balanced, high-skilled option that can get in and out of fights with flair. And that wraps up the A tier in Shonen Unleashed. These characters are a blast to play and perfect for anyone who wants a balanced experience without sacrificing fun or functionality. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Guts, Giyu Tomioka Tanjiro Kamado, Vegeta Android Saga, Jonathan Joestar, Tanjiro Kamado, Diamond is Unbreakable, Jotaro Kujo, and Renji Babarai. Alright, let's dive into some heavy hitters in Shonen Unleashed that can turn the tide of any battle and carry you to victory. We're talking about the S tier characters, the creme de la creme that will have you dishing out insane damage, dodging like a pro, and comboing your way to the top. Buckle up, because these guys aren't your average picks, they're absolutely stacked, each with their unique quirks and challenges. Let's start with Guts. Now, if you're into relentless gap closers and crowd control, Guts is your man. This guy brings an almost full AoE kit that will keep multiple enemies in check while making him a nightmare to deal with up close. His utility skill? Absolute genius. It lets him switch between ranged options, making his kit super versatile. Plus, he's got enhanced M1s when awakened and a Death Ward passive, which gives him incredible survivability. No super or hyper armor though, so watch out for incoming hits when you're diving in hard. Now, Giyu Tomioka and Tanjiro Kamado, these two bring some real heat. They've got that upgraded counter-evasive move, which means if anyone tries to pull a fast one, they're going to pay for it. Both of them are combo machines, with mobility for days and decent AoE to boot. Giyu especially shines in his ultimate, where he gains a powerful buff. It's a game changer in team fights, but a lack of disengage options means you have to commit hard when you jump in. And no hyper armor moves here either, so be strategic with your timing. And let's not forget Vegeta from the Android Saga. This version of Vegeta has a fantastic balanced kit that brings a mix of range, poke, and gap closers. His moves practically scream combo me, with auto aim and tracking features that make it a little easier to land hits. But Vegeta struggles a bit in team fights where he can get focused down without a disengage option. If you're running with friends, be mindful of your positioning or you'll find yourself an easy target. Jonathan Joestar rounds out the lineup with probably one of the most balanced kits. He's all about spacing, so if you're a fan of thoughtful gameplay, he's got you covered with good combo potential and decent damage. He can actually disengage and create space pretty well, so you'll find yourself keeping control in tight spots, but he's more of a solo beast than a team player, with low AoE output and only solid normal damage. In the heat of battle, he might not always shine as bright, but he's a powerhouse if played smart. Let's talk about Diamond is Unbreakable's Jotaro Kujo. This guy has crowd control down to a science. With a high damage ultimate and solid disengage options, Jotaro can be a real force on the battlefield, especially for keeping opponents locked down. However, he has a few gaps in his game. He doesn't have much range or gap closing potential, so he can be pretty vulnerable to poke. If you're playing Jotaro, make sure to time those moves carefully or you'll be left wide open. Lastly, we've got Renji Abarai. He's packing a well-rounded kit with CC for days, so his combo potential is up there with the best of them. While awakened, his enhanced M1s give him crazy range and CC that make him a menace at all distances. The downside, he doesn't have any gap closers while awakened, so range-focused enemies can really mess with him. Renji players need to bring their A game to avoid getting shut down from a distance. So these are the legends of S tier in Shonen Unleashed. Each one brings something unique, and mastering them requires understanding their weaknesses just as much as their strengths. Play your cards right and you'll dominate. Miss a beat and it's game over. So which one's your favorite? Let's hear it. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.